Linda, come see. There's a sold sign on your fence.
Linda had not signed a single listing agreement. The farm was held in Daniel's trust. She walked to the fence and gripped the post.
It went up Tuesday. I've been meaning to ask you, who's handling the sale?
I didn't sell. This farm isn't on the market.
Linda drove straight to the town hall, her hands tight on the wheel. The clerk pulled up the file without a word.
Here it is. Notarized power of attorney, dated May 3rd. Your signature.
Linda's eyes locked on the date. 6 months ago, she'd been in a hospital bed. Knee wrapped, sedatives blurring every hour. She had signed nothing. The memory surfaced. A private room, the hum of an IV pump, Stephanie adjusting the window blinds. Her daughter had visited every afternoon that week.
Someone was in that hospital room with me. Someone who knew I couldn't lift a pen.
Linda stared at the document. Only one visitor had been there long enough to hand her papers. The name hovered on her tongue, too terrible to speak aloud. Linda drove home and went straight to the pile of old mail in the study. A manila envelope with a Boston developer's return address stopped her cold. Dear Miss Reeves, we are proceeding with the 200-acre acquisition, as previously discussed. All paperwork will be routed through your daughter Stephanie.
Stephanie's name. She never told me she was talking to developers. She knew the farm was in the trust.
She called Wyndham Memorial. The records clerk confirmed. Linda Reeves had been heavily sedated from May 1st through May 6th after knee reconstruction.
Patricia Kane. This is Linda Reeves. My farm was sold under a notarized power of attorney you stamped on May 3rd. I never signed it.
I notarized the document exactly as presented. Linda Reeves signed in my presence. I verified her identification.
I was in a hospital bed, knee opened up, drugged. Who brought you the paperwork?
I am not at liberty to discuss client names. This conversation is over. Goodbye, Mrs. Reeves.
The line went dead. Linda sat at the kitchen table, the developer's letter in one hand, the silent phone in the other.
She planned it from the beginning. While I was helpless, she moved. The notary is lying and no one is on my side.
Linda drove to the station and detailed the forgery. The officer behind the desk just shook his head.
This is fraud. Someone forged my signature and stole my land.
Property fraud is a civil matter, the officer said. Nothing the department could pursue without a court finding. Linda walked back to her truck, the word civil ringing in her ears. That evening, as dusk fell, her home phone rang.
Reeves' residence.
Linda, this is Judge George Whitman. I saw the Reeves name on a probate transfer. Daniel's family. Is that you? I've frozen the sale. Something isn't right with the signature. I knew Daniel since college. He'd never let this land go.
You knew Daniel? I didn't sign that power of attorney. I was in surgery that week.
The judge's voice softened. He remembered the toast he gave at their wedding in 1965, the way Daniel gripped his hand. He promised Linda the transfer would stay frozen until a forensic handwriting analysis was complete. The sale was on hold. The next morning, Linda sat across from Judge Whitman in his chambers. The case file lay open between them.
I've asked Dr. Harper, our forensic handwriting analyst, to examine the signature. He'll need known samples from you.
I brought my old farm ledger and letters to Daniel. You can see my writing from decades back.
She laid the items on the desk, her fingers tracing Daniel's handwriting on one envelope. The judge watched her steady herself.
Stephanie visited me every afternoon that week. She handled my purse, my mail. She could have practiced.
I'll note that. We'll need her handwriting too, but for now, let's focus on the forgery itself.
Dr. Harper took the samples and the question document. The analysis would compare pressure, slant, and letter formation over 2 weeks.
A skilled forgery can be unmasked by microscopic tremor and line continuity. I'll have a report for you within 14 days.
Linda walked out of the courthouse into weak spring sun. The next 2 weeks would name the person who tried to steal her home.
If it's Stephanie, I don't know if I can ever look at her the same way again.
3 days later, Stephanie pulled into the driveway unannounced. Linda watched from the kitchen and steeled herself.
Mom, I was in the area. Thought I'd see how you were doing. The knee's better, I hope.
Fine. I heard the sale hit a problem. Something about the signature. You wouldn't know about that?
A snag? First, I am hearing of it. Probably just a clerical error. You know how slow title companies are.
At the hospital, they needed my signature on a consent form. Did you ever handle those for me?
No, just the usual admission papers. Nothing that needed your actual signature. Why?
Linda noted the thread of panic in her daughter's voice. Stephanie kissed her cheek and hurried out, promising to call soon. When the car vanished down the road, Linda climbed the stairs to the room Stephanie grew up in. Tucked behind high school yearbooks, a folder held the developer's glossy brochures. On top, a note. Mom won't agree, need POA.
She wrote it herself. She planned the forgery in this house, under my roof.
Linda pulled out the developer's letter and dialed the number on the letterhead. She kept her voice light.
Mr. Collins? Linda Reeves. I wanted to discuss the 200 acres. Could you refresh me on the process so far?
Mrs. Reeves, everything's been handled through your daughter. She brought us the signed POA and the property file.
And the power of attorney. You saw my signature on it yourself.
Notarized and witnessed. Perfectly in order. Stephanie assured us you were fully on board.
Linda ended the call without another word. Then she called Wyndham Memorial once more, this time to the surgical floor.
This is Linda Reeves. Did any form during my knee surgery week require my personal signature?
The nurse on duty checked the file. No signature was ever required. Standard consent was filed on intake, nothing additional.
She lied about the consent forms, too. Every word Stephanie said was a lie. She walked into my hospital room with a plan.
Linda now knew the full shape of the scheme. Only the forensic report could turn certainty into proof. She would wait. 2 weeks later, the call came. Linda drove to the courthouse, where Dr. Harper waited in the judge's chambers with a thin report.
The question's signature showed no natural tremor. It was drafted, not written. I then compared it against Stephanie Reeves's known handwriting. Every baseline, every terminal stroke aligns. The probability that Stephanie Reeves authored this signature exceeds 96%.
He circled the loops on the display. Linda recognized the flourish. The same exaggerated hook she'd praised on Stephanie's school projects.
Linda, this is conclusive. The POA is forged, and the evidence points to your daughter. I am so sorry.
Linda took the report. The letters blurred. This was not a stranger's crime. It was the same hand that once traced nursery letters on her knee.
She sat beside my hospital bed, held my hand, and then signed my name to steal the land her father loved.
The room compressed into silence. Judge Whitman rose and stood by the window, giving her space to absorb the fracture.
What do I do now? If I hand this to the police, I lose my daughter. If I don't, I lose everything Daniel built.
She folded the report and slid it into her bag. The proof was absolute. The decision belonged only to her. That evening, Linda invited Stephanie for dinner and set the report beside her own plate. The air thickened before a word was spoken.
This is a handwriting analysis, Stephanie. It proves the power of attorney is forged in your handwriting.
That's absurd. A lab can make any mistake. You are going to believe a stranger over your own daughter?
I found your note, Stephanie. Mom won't agree. Need POA. It was in your old room.
Fine. I signed the damned paper. You were never going to agree. I deserve that money. I've been waiting for years. Dad left everything tied up in that trust. You were just going to rot on this farm until you died. I took what was owed to me.
This farm is your father's legacy. You tried to steal it while I lay in a hospital bed. How can you stand there and call it owed? Was it worth it, Stephanie? Losing your mother for a check that will never clear.
Stephanie grabbed her bag and stormed out, the front door slamming hard enough to rattle the windows. The report lay alone on the table.
She didn't even deny the motive. She feels entitled to my death. What do I do with that?
Linda sat alone until midnight, the forensic report open on her lap. She lifted the framed photograph from the mantel.
You'd know what to do, Daniel. She's our daughter. She betrayed us, but she's still ours.
No answer came. She set the photo down and reached for the phone. George's number was on the case file.
George, it's Linda. Stephanie confessed at dinner. She signed it herself and feels no guilt.
Then we need to act, but carefully. I have an idea. Let her think the sale is back on. If she tries another closing, we'll have the title company and police on the line. She'll incriminate herself.
Linda closed her eyes. It meant playing a role, pretending to cooperate, watching her daughter walk into a trap.
I'll have to lie to her face, lead her on, and then watch her arrested. Can I really do that? All right, George. I'll do it. For Daniel. For the farm.
The trap was set in motion. Linda would play the forgiving mother, and the law would wait in the wings. Judge Whitman contacted the title company's legal department. They agreed to record every word of the next closing attempt. Linda stood before the bathroom mirror, rehearsing the call until her voice sounded casual and warm, as if she had finally surrendered.
I have to sound tired, like I've given up. She'll believe that.
She dialed Stephanie's number and waited, her heart hammering against her ribs.
Stephanie, it's Mom. I've been thinking, maybe the farm is too much for me. Maybe selling is the right thing after all.
Really? After everything you said? I thought you'd never come around.
I was stubborn. Your father's gone, and I am just tired. If you can restart the process, I won't fight it.
I can call Mr. Collins tonight. We'll have a conference call with the title company tomorrow to finalize.
Linda forced lightness into her voice. She agreed to the time and ended the call, then sat very still in the silent room. The trap was baited. Tomorrow, Stephanie would speak into a recorded line, and the truth would unmask itself. The next morning, in Judge Whitman's chambers, a speakerphone connected Linda, the title company, Mr. Collins, and Stephanie. The title officer began. Mrs. Reeves, do you confirm the signature on the power of attorney is yours?
I did not sign that document. I was sedated in a hospital bed on the date it was notarized.
Silence stretched. Then Stephanie's voice erupted, panicked.
Mom, stop. You agreed to the sale. She gets confused. She's an elderly woman. You can't trust her memory.
The title officer interrupted. We have a statement from the notary, saying she witnessed your signature.
I was in surgery. The person who brought that paper was my daughter. She forged my name.
Stephanie fumbled with her phone, but Judge Whitman's voice locked her in place.
This call is recorded. Forensic evidence confirms the forgery. The sale is void.
We're pulling out immediately. All documents will be handed to the police.
Stephanie tried to disconnect, but the judge commanded her to stay on the line.
We also have Patricia Kane's recanted statement. She now admits she did not verify the signer in person.
It wasn't supposed to. I just needed the money. You have no idea the debt I am in.
Her voice cracked. The confession spilled out, raw and unmasked, captured on the recording.
I practiced her signature for weeks. I paid a woman to sit in the wheelchair and nod.
Mr. Collins spoke again, his tone hard. The developer's involvement was terminated.
All agreements are void. The property is off the table. We'll cooperate fully with any investigation.
Judge Whitman stamped the case file with finality, then looked at Linda.
She admitted it all. The chain of evidence will hold, but it doesn't feel like victory.
The call ended. The sale was dead. The confession was locked in the court's archive. Within an hour, 2 police cruisers pulled up to Stephanie's apartment. She opened the door, still wearing the same clothes, her face hollow. The detective read her rights while she stared at the floor. No more denials, no sharp words, only silence as the handcuffs clicked. Linda received the call in her kitchen. Judge Whitman's voice was gentle, but carried the weight of the moment.
Linda, it's done. Stephanie is in custody. The sale is officially null. The farm belongs to the trust, untouched.
She is in handcuffs because of me. I am the one who trapped her. That will never leave me.
She drove to the pasture, parked by the fence, and walked into the tall grass where the old oak cast its long shadow.
It's done, Daniel. The farm is safe. Our daughter is in a cell. Why does it feel like I lost them both?
She sank onto the wooden bench where Daniel had proposed in 1964. The tears came then, a flood held back for too many months.
I still love her. That's the cruelest part. I will visit her, but I will never hand her this farm.
The sun dipped behind the barn. The sold sign was gone. The field remained, and so did Linda, rooted as deep as the oak. In the following weeks, Linda met with the prosecutor. She recounted every detail of the fraud.
She handed me hospital forms, told the notary I was an aunt. I still have her handwritten note.
The prosecutor filed charges: forgery, identity fraud, elder financial abuse. Trial set for autumn. Judge Whitman issued the final probate order. The farm was restored to the trust, unclouded.
The title is finally clean, but I still walk the fence line every sunrise.
She hired a young man from the county extension to mend fences and paint the barn.
We'll replant the east pasture in April. Daniel always said that dirt grew the sweetest clover.
Linda spent quiet evenings with seed catalogs and soil maps, planning rotations.
I am not preserving a memory. I am working the land again.
The case files grew, but the farm deepened its grip on her. She would testify when called. The hearing convened in a small courtroom. Stephanie entered in an orange jumpsuit, her eyes never lifting from the floor. When the charges were read, her voice cracked on a single word: guilty. The prosecutor read Linda's victim statement, a request for leniency instead of the maximum sentence. The judge sentenced 15 months of probation and full restitution. No prison time, per the victim's mercy. Linda watched from the gallery, a photograph of Daniel in her lap. She did not approach the defense table.
She never looked at me. Not once. I asked for mercy, but I don't know if that was for her or for me.
Afterward, Linda walked the empty courthouse corridor alone. The victory felt hollow. She returned to the farm and walked the fence line until dusk. The land was hers, but the silence was complete.
I will visit, but not yet. The soil needs planting first.
A year turned the farm green again. The east pasture grew clover deep enough to brush a tractor axle. Then a letter arrived, stamped from the state correctional facility. The handwriting on the envelope was familiar. Mom, I have no excuses. I think about the hospital room every night. If you can ever forgive me, I just want to hear your voice.
She signed it with her full name. For the first time, it sounded like my daughter.
She sat with pen and paper for an hour. The reply had to be honest, not sentimental. Stephanie, I love you. I always will. Trust has to be earned slowly, the way this farm earns its harvest. She sealed the envelope and walked it to the mailbox. The metal flag rose with a quiet click.
Spring always comes back. Maybe people can too.
By noon, she was in the east pasture, setting new fence posts. The work didn't stop. The farm was whole again. She could wait for the rest. As her 71st birthday approached, Linda walked the pasture where she and Daniel had married. The grass was thick under her boots.
I am going to set a table right here. A small party. The people who stood by me.
She sat at the kitchen table and wrote invitations by hand. Each one began with, "Please come to the field." George, I am turning 71. Join me in the pasture where you once stood beside Daniel. Bring a glass.
Margaret, it's Linda. I am having a birthday in the pasture. No gifts. Just come sit with us.
About time you let us celebrate you, Linda. I'll be there.
The morning of the party, she carried a long wooden table into the pasture. She spread a white cloth and weighted the corners with stones. Mason jars filled with wild asters ran down the center. String lights lay coiled in a box, waiting for dusk.
This is my field. I almost lost it, but it held. Tonight, it holds a party.
The field was ready. She left the table and walked toward the barn to bring out the chairs. Evening would bring the people who mattered. Just before sunset, a sedan pulled up. Judge Whitman stepped out in a worn blazer, holding a bottle of wine.
Linda, the field looks exactly like it did in '65.
He took her arm, and they walked past the oak tree to the spot where the wedding arch had stood.
Daniel's hands shook so hard, he nearly dropped the ring. You just smiled and held him steady. I've never seen a man look at land and wife with equal reverence. He swore the pasture would outlast him.
Linda's eyes welled. She pressed her wedding band against her chest.
Happy birthday, Linda. This table is beautiful.
Voices filled the pasture. The string lights flickered on, casting soft circles on the grass. For a moment, Linda stood apart, watching the guests from the edge of the light. The oak's branches shifted in the warm breeze.
He kept his promise. The land outlasted, and so did I.
Judge Whitman raised his glass. The chatter around the table fell away.
To Linda Reeves. For fighting, when fighting was impossible, and for loving a piece of land the way most people love a person, and to Daniel, who chose you and this pasture and never ever let go.
Glasses clinked in the twilight. Linda stood, her own glass steady in her hand.
Daniel used to say the soil remembers everything. The hooves, the rain, the hands that worked it. It remembers him, and tonight it remembers all of you. Thank you for standing with me when the ground nearly gave way.
They drank. The sunset deepened into violet and rose, the oak a dark silhouette against the last light. For a long moment, no one spoke. The only sounds were the breeze and the clink of glasses settling on the table. Linda walked a few steps into the grass and stood under the oak. She touched the bark, then turned back toward the table. The celebration continued softly in the summer night. A woman, a pasture, and a promise kept. One by one, the guests departed until only Judge Whitman remained. He helped Linda carry the last of the plates to the barn. They returned to the wooden bench under the oak. The string lights had been turned off, leaving only the moon and the low glow from the farmhouse.
I made a promise to Daniel when he got sick. He asked me to keep an eye on this land and on you. I didn't expect I'd ever need to act on it. Not like this. When I saw that file cross my desk, I knew.
You kept your word, George. Better than anyone could have asked. I wish he could see this night.
They sat in silence for a while, the kind that doesn't need filling. A shooting star crossed the dark patch above the barn. After the judge drove away, Linda walked to the barn alone. She pressed her palm flat against the red wood Daniel had painted.
It's still here, Daniel. The paint, the boards, the trust. I'll keep it all until I see you again.
She looked up at the star-filled sky, then walked back toward the farmhouse. Her shadow long across the grass, the farm settled into stillness. A light flicked off in an upstairs window, and the night held its breath. The next morning rose clear and cool. Linda took her coffee to the front porch, the wooden boards creaking under her slippers. Dew glazed the pasture. The cows were already grazing near the east fence. Everything smelled of wet earth and clover.
I am still here, Daniel. 71 years, and the soil still holds my footprints.
She sipped her coffee and watched a red-tailed hawk circle over the barn. The same barn that had nearly worn a different name. The trust documents sat in a fireproof box in the hall closet, untouched, immutable. Linda thought about the years ahead. She might host a workshop for young farmers. She might visit Stephanie.
There's no rush. The farm knows how to wait, and so do I.
She rose from the rocking chair and walked barefoot into the grass. The cool blades brushed her ankles.
This is home, always was, always will be.
The farm stretched around her, green and eternal, the red barns standing watch like a sentinel. The day passed in quiet labor, mending a gate, checking the herd. As evening fell, Linda walked out to the pasture once more. The light turned amber, casting her shadow long across the grass that had fed her family for 2 generations. Linda Reeves, 71, continued to run the farm. The land remained in the testamentary trust, as Daniel had written, untouched.
The sold sign never came back, and neither did the fear.
The barn stood solid. The oak spread its branches, and the pasture rolled toward the hills like it had for 100 years. Justice had come through the slow machinery of a small-town court. But what endured was simpler. A woman and her land. The forged power of attorney was sealed in evidence. Stephanie served her probation, paying restitution month by month. Linda never sold an acre. She walked the fence line every morning, the trust deed filed and final. The sun lowered behind the barn, painting the sky in streaks of rose and gold. The farm exhaled, and in that quiet, standing at the gate, Linda pressed her wedding band to her lips. The promise was kept.